A professional poker player just exposed his hand in the middle of action with just 10 players left on the European Poker Tour main event, and he's got no idea what to do next. Pocket Aces goes 3 ways to a flop, and it's an action board indeed. We've got some high-level play with Adria Colonge flopping trips, but hating his hand by the river. And we play the biggest pot of the tournament so far. Ben Heath gets dealt the pocket kings, but just how much trouble is he in? Welcome back to European Poker Tour Daily. My name is Spraggy, and we have been covering day 5 of the main event. We are down to 10 players. Louis Farrier, a top professional, is dealt the ace-queen suited. Ben Heath has got pocket eights. But what happens next? I don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, my bad.
Okay, we got an issue here.
This is weird spot.
Oh boy, we got an issue here.
Eight.
Oh, it's fine.
It's not full. You don't. We need the full.
Yeah, but
Okay, sure.
Because what's happened is, Farrier has raised.
It's gonna be a fun spot.
Ben Heath has 3-bet to 800,000. Farrier has called and exposed his hand.
No.
No, I have cards.
See the flop.
But he thought like he was all in and he's not, so I just take the hit.
It was a brain fart.
And this is a big brain fart.
Wow.
So here's what's going to happen, folks. Louis Farrier thought that they were all in. Louis Farrier thought that Ben Heath had moved all in. And so he called and exposed his hand. But Ben Heath did not move all in. He made it 800k, effectively committing a step, but there's 500k behind. There's still a lot of chips behind. 1.6 million in the middle, 500k behind. And now Louis Farrier has to, because he exposed his hand, he has to, the hand continues, but his hand is face up. Ben Heath shoves, or bets 500k. That's enough for Farrier.
No, I think.
And now what? Ben Heath knows he has ace-queen, but Farrier knows that Ben Heath knows he has ace-queen. Everybody knows that he knows that he's got ace-queen, and Ben Heath is still betting 500k. But there's 1.5 million in the middle, and he's missed. I don't know what I would do. I don't know what you should do. It's obviously just a disaster for Louis Farrier, who would happily be all in pre-flop and taking a flip, but now he's here and he's most of his stacks in the middle, and Ben Heath knows his hand, and he can't help but laugh. It's a ridiculous situation this deep in the main. What do you do, chat? Chat, what do you do? Isaac reckons he would have bet smaller if he had ace-queen crushed. I don't know. Maybe Ben Heath just says, I play all in with every hand I have. Because what if he has king-queen and he sees that Farrier has ace-queen? He probably thinks, I should probably try and get that to fold. Bowie said, just do a pot odds calc in it. Just work out how often we're going to beat a pair. But what if it's kings? It's different to nines. What if it's aces? I don't know what I would do. I think I would call because I would just be, I don't know, too sick. If I just saw that he had ace-jack or something. Does he even go with ace-jack pre-flop? Is it more pairs than ace-queen or better? Farrier folds. So Louis Farrier ends up folding here. My mind boggles. I think his does too. Are we supposed to commit the rest of the chips? Are we supposed to fold? Ben Heath knows what we have. Our hands face up. What sort of hands does he shove? Does he try and get us to fold if he has a worse hand? I don't know what's going on. Tell us in the comments, what would you have done with so much money already in the middle? And with 10 players left, Louis Farrier involved again. The 10K W Coupe main event champion gets himself into a sticky situation with ace-queen of clubs. He's up against the pocket aces, but can he escape the river unscathed? King 10 suited good enough to play. We're 3 ways to a flop. And it could be... Oh, it is. It's a banger of a flop. First point of interest is this man's decision. Tomas with aces. Speak a lot about out position, wanting to do a lot of checking. Does he mix aces into that check as well? Not on this occasion. On this occasion, he's coming out firing. And Louis Farrier will be thinking that the world is his oyster. In some ways it is. He has a nut draw. And of course, the good thing for Farrier's hand here as well is that Tomas is going to be betting hands like king-queen and king-jack and queen-jack on the flop that he has dominated with the ace-queen. Colonge in the big blind with top pair, though, on a 10-9-5 two-tone. And crucially also for Colonge, that heart working for him in the back door. He'll be keeping an eye on that. Too thin for a raise, but with 3 ways to a turn card, which is another massively impactful one. It is a queen of spades. Really bad news for Colonge. We spoke on the flop about Tomas betting hands like King Queen and Queen Jack and King Jack. And of course, Faria gonna hit the Queen as he has occasionally. So very bad news for the 10. Tomas just checking the turn. Obviously a turn where both players have good interaction, making straights, making 2 pairs. Some of these hands starting to come into view. So I think really nice that Tomas is just checking. Doesn't want to bet the turn and face raises. His hand definitely shrinks facing that action. So a little bit of control here from Tomas with a check. And Faria now takes over the betting lead with 270k. And he'll have ideas about getting money in against King Queen and Queen Jack, trying to target those hands for value. Of course, he has the insurance of this flush draw. Calone with the fold, doesn't like that Queen at all. And whilst Tomas won't like the Queen, I do think his hand far too strong at this point to consider anything but continuing. I don't think it's strong enough that he's really going to want to play the check raise. He is going to run into sets, 2 pairs and straights. So he's going for a call and a very river dependent decision coming his way. It's a really good river for him. It's potentially a trouble one for Faria. Already 1.2 million in this pot. I just wonder whether Faria feels like this pot is big enough or whether he thinks he wants to try and get called by a King Queen. Are these hands even calling? You know, it's a very strong line that Faria would take if he triples off here. It's really easy for him to have straights and 2 pairs and sets. Yeah, it's a little thin with the ace queen. Check, check. I guess he'll be kind of, yeah. Gives himself a pat on the back. Nice find with the check. You've got to be really careful value betting a hand like ace queen in a spot where you can have king jack, pocket nines, 9, 10, queen 10. Louis Faria manages to save himself with an incredible check back. How many of you might have gone for an extra value bet? How many of you might have been greedy? I think I would. He gives himself a pat on the back. He checked and got away from it. And coming up next might be my favorite hand of the tournament. Kalonge flops 3 of a kind, but the board runs out in such a way that it allows us to witness some top no limit hold'em. We do see a heads up pot here, and for some reason every time someone defends in the big blind or plays from the blinds, they do seem to flop trips, and Kalonge has done just that. And Ostash with a bit of interest, this 6-5 suited.
The stare from Kalonge there. Pretty quick check back from 6-5. Didn't take long at all there to knuckle that back. I don't think bet folding would have been particularly unreasonable.
And that's the second time we've seen Ostash take a quick decision, right? He bet very quickly for value with the 550k bet he made at the river and a hand previously. He takes a pretty quick decision here. Really interesting turn, right? Because we speak about this board and how thin we might want to go for value in some small sizings. Maybe we want to play a big sizing. Obviously, good interactions from the big blind on a 6. Makes plenty of flushes, makes some straights. Has some 8s that might want to bet, 9s that might want to bet. We see Kalonge as well go for this kind of smaller sizing, Andy, which is going to allow him to value bet more thinly, perhaps value betting around an 8 versus a check back as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what this size will be designed for. I think Ostash could have gone either way here. I think raising probably wasn't off the bottom. Ooh, this is a really out.
Any boat blockers for Sir?
I think block and raise should be what's supposed to happen here. I'll be intrigued if it happens, because like the boat block has become super important in the spot where, you know, like trips and 7x can carry on value betting, but you kind of just very naturally arrive with hands like, you know, like 9-8 or 6s as button or pocket 5s as button. This is supposed to go block raise in theory, in my mind.
So what we have to think about here is it's okay having blockers. It's okay having blockers in spot. And we do see the block size come in with Queen 9 and Ostash blocking these bluffs. It's fine to have the blockers, but what you have to make sure is that you're able to credibly rep full houses. And what Andy is saying is that, yes, he would trap 9-8 because he has so much of the board. He would check back pocket 6s. He would check back pocket 5s and end up in this line. So when you're deciding to bluff with blockers, yes, have them, but make sure that you also are going to have the hands that you're trying to represent. And I think that is the case here for Ostash. I think I agree, Andy. He is going to have the boats. Now let's just see. It's very difficult for him to want to click call. As you said, Kalonge is going to have a 9 in this block size. He's going to have a 7 in this block size. I don't know how you feel about it, but let's say he has a hand like 7-8. He might put it in the block since he blocks the way that his opponent would call with a pair and things like this. So this isn't a situation he can attack really with impunity. Kalonge is going to have good hands, but there you go. Andy Wilson calls it. It's block into jam. He uses those blockers to be all in, and Kalonge will hate his life.
Really, really nice play. Yeah, it's nice to see this. And as you just correctly highlighted, it just makes all the sense in this spot. How 6s and 5s would have played the flop check back mode. Like, it just makes sense to do this.
And you just have the perfect combination, right? You have the perfect blockers that don't have the showdown, right? You wouldn't do that. Maybe if you have a 9, you can, ideas of calling and things like this. But if you're going to block boats, the 6 and the 5, this is a perfect combination, executed at a perfect time. And we knew that we had an elite field playing, but it's really just great to see just, good, solid, aggressive poker, finding all the right plays at all the right times.
So now as Mr. Colonge, it's really interesting because you'd rather have a 9 than a 7.
Right.
At least when you have a 9, you block some nutted value. Like a 7's not doing this.
Yeah.
So when you have a 7 value betting yourself, it's kind of has yes utility in calling, like a river in position raise. But the 9 kind of is a bit better, if that makes sense, which some people might miss here too. I do think a flush is good enough to jam, so having a club would be better. Yeah, it's just worth considering. I think it's definitely better to have a 9 than a 7 here, I would imagine. I'd be shocked if that was the case.
And what we're really saying is, folks, Ostash is claiming that he has a full house. So if you're going to try and bluff catch him, you got to have cards that stop him from having a full house. And obviously a 9 does that more than a 7 does that. So this is definitely an interesting bluff catcher.
It would be a pretty sick call.
It would be a pretty sick call. And on this stage as well, we're not calling this off at the start of the tournament. Don't forget, we're in a field of 9. He's called it off, Andy.
Oh, that's beautiful. What a hand. What a hand.
That is top level poker from both players. Just an incredible hand. And as we said in the commentary as we were live, it's one of those where both players just find perfect decisions. The small bet from Colonge, the leverage of the blockers to try and represent the full house, and then the sniffing out of that bluff by Adria. He's going to chip up, and he's headed firmly onto day 6. Before we close tonight, here is the biggest part of the tournament so far. It's Ben Heath, a very experienced, super high stakes player. He gets dealt pocket kings. He's up against Brzezinski, and he's in a world of trouble. Oh my goodness me. Oh my goodness me. Ben Heath just found a massive double up with queens against ace king. 74 big blinds for Ben Heath, and Brzezinski raising off about 67. I will tell you what, we are deep here. We are deep here, and both players' risk premiums against each other, are going to be high. The stack that is covered going to have a very high risk premium in terms of getting all the money in against your opponent with short stacks at the table is going to come into play. It is going to be a factor when we're dealing with this many chips, 70 big blinds. I do wonder whether the risk premiums might stop you stacking off with 10s. They might stop you stacking off with jacks or ace queen. You don't want to get ace king all in pre-flop maybe for 70 big blinds, but how does that impact kings versus aces? Does he want to try and get in? And the answer is going to be aces. It's going to be some 4-bet bluffs, sure. But in terms of hands that really want to stack off here, it's going to be aces and kings. I really do think 70 blinds deep on final tables that if Brzezinski has queens, he can't really 4-bet Ben Heath and play for stacks. I don't see it happening. I think the prevailing wisdom, even with a hand as strong as queens, would be some calling at least in position for Brzezinski. So this 4-bet narrows him to a very, very, very small subset of hands. Aces, and then he'll balance out with some bluffs. Maybe those bluffs are ace 4, ace 5, as we traditionally see, right?
Wow.
But Ben Heath has kings, and as I say, these risk premiums, they might impact how often we stack off with queens or jacks or 10s or ace queen or even ace king, but it is not going to slow down the action, as it turns out, when we've got ace ace versus king king. It is the biggest pot of the tournament so far. Ben Heath, moments ago, ran up his stack with queens against ace king, and he's the very next moment ran king king into ace ace with 7 left in a main event. It's the biggest part of the tournament. It's 8.5 million. The winner of this pot will be your new chip leader. And should Brzezinski's aces get cracked, he's out of here. Pretty tough for them to get cracked. 4 of a kind aces on the flop. Brzezinski has flopped a monster. He's won a monster. You've got to feel for Ben Heath. Had just put himself in a fantastic position to compete for this crown. Aces against kings and quads on the flop. It is a cruel, cruel game we play. You got to feel for Ben. He had just doubled up the hand before he gets dealt kings, but then they dealt him kings versus aces. They dealt him game over, and it was. Which means that we are down to just 5 players in the EPT Malta main event. All of the action will be broadcast live right here on this YouTube channel on Sunday. That's Sunday, the 12th of November. And your final table lineup is as follows. It's headlined by Mikhailo Ostash, 9 million. Alexei Boyka back. He won the event last time it was hosted in Malta in 2016. So in some sense, he's looking to go back to back. He's got 7 million. Thomas Brzezinski, the beneficiary of Aces versus Kings, he's third in chips, 5.38 million. Adria Collonge, he sniffed out that bluff with Queen 9. He's playing some top stuff. He's coming back with 3.5 million. And of course, Tom Axel Bedell, the wild card, the showman, dripped out in Gucci and coming back to day 6 for the final table with 1.1 million in chips. If you've enjoyed this recap, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of the action from the final table. If you don't catch us live, we'll have a roundup tomorrow. I will see you there. Good night.